Superheroes Unite, Lego Batman 2 from 2012, the first Lego video game that had voiceovers for the authentic characters and just one of the more detailed Lego video game stories. Of course, we had others as follow-ups like The Lord of the Rings, and Lego Marvel Superheroes, which I also purchased, which I was a huge fan of too. Big fan of Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Wolverine, the X-Men. Big fan of that. But, you know, when I go through the Lego video games that I've played over the years, I always go back to the Lego Batman video game series because that's where it got me started on Lego video games. That's where I started developing somewhat of an addiction. And if not for the Lego Batman video game series, I probably would have never picked up a Lego video game, and I probably wouldn't have done as many Lego video game reviews that I've done on YouTube, such as Lego Marvel Superheroes from Marvel Comics featuring Iron Man, Spider-Man, The Thing, the Fantastic Four, the Wolverine, the X-Men. Probably would have never done those and went down that road if not for the Lego Batman video game series. Now, the original Lego Batman video game, I'll be honest with you, kind of sucked. It blew in more ways than one. I wasn't a big fan of that. Very quickly threw that one down, although I did complete the video game. And I became a fan of the Lego Batman video game series when I started playing Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes Unite for the first time after seeing the phenomenal promotional campaign that went behind it, the HD trailers, which they have released for Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, which I'm a huge fan of. If you haven't seen the trailer for this, it's in high definition. It's on our Facebook page and Twitter at HGW Entertainment on Facebook. Over 1,000 subscribers. I threw the trailer up, and on Twitter with 36,000 tweets. It's amongst our 36,000 tweets or 36,000K tweets. You have to check this out. It runs for about 45 minutes to a minute in length, and it really puts the game over and has great emphasis on just how detailed this game is. The graphics are improved. They have similarities to the original Lego Batman video games, Lego Batman 1 and Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes Unite, and the script is very updated, although you don't have to be a diehard fan. So look for that in the video game. It's rated E for general audiences and everybody, and it basically applies to any age demographic. It's not one of those games that's rated T or M for teen or mature. So it's basically for everybody, and everybody from ages about 5 to 55 years of age or even higher, probably 75 to 85 years of age, 5 to 85. I'll go with age demographic because it's rated E for everybody in general audiences. There's something in this video game for everybody, and you definitely go to IGN and different video game review websites for updated summaries on this game all the time. Of course, there are walkthroughs also available on YouTube of the game for each individual level to take you through the story mode and the campaign, which you will not find very challenging. The average completion of a Lego video game is anywhere from 2 to 3 days completion in total if you know what you're doing. Probably a week, 6 to 7 days in total, a week of 7 days total to complete the game if you don't know what you're doing. The more challenging video games I found for the Batman video games were the Arkham video games, believe it or not, although it only took me about 2 to 3 weeks to complete each individual Arkham video game from Arkham Asylum right through the more recent one, Arkham Origins, which was released back in 2013. The latest video game that was released up until Lego Batman 2 was released in 2012. Every year, they put in a new Batman game every 1 to 2 years, and we've been seeing Lego Batman video games released every 2 years, with Lego Batman being released back in 2009, 2010, Lego Batman 2, DC Superheroes Unite in 2012, and now this one in 2014, along with a PlayStation 3 video game bundle, including a PlayStation 500 gigabyte console, a PlayStation controller that's actually designed for the Lego Batman 3 video game, including a Lego Batman 3 video game. It's amazing just how much promotion has went behind this video game, and on a scale of 5 stars, definitely rated 5 out of 5 for how phenomenally this game has been put over, and it's one of the biggest releases of the winter, and it's one that you definitely should pick up, especially if you're a Batman fan in your life. I've been a huge Batman fan for forever, and that's the reason why I went out and actually purchased a Batman costume and started being Batman for different events and different things like parades and stuff. It was so fun for me being Batman and just getting the experience to actually be Batman, one of my idols, one of my all-time favorites for the first time in years. I had been Batman before in my earlier years, but it's been years since I actually tried to do that kind of thing, and that's why photos of myself on Facebook and Twitter have been popping up all the time. And who out there isn't a fan of a superhero? I mean, who don't you have a conversation with who isn't a fan of a superhero? If you don't know who a superhero is, especially the original superheroes like Batman and Spider-Man, there's somebody out there who's a fan of this kind of thing everywhere you look, and there's always a way of having a conversation about a superhero. And this is definitely a game, I think, that has something in it for everybody, and it will definitely take you down memory lane like a lot of video game experts will tell you. You know, they'll tell you that this video game will take you down a trip for memory lane, and definitely this one will, because it'll bring back a lot of things you remember from the original TV series of Batman and Robin. Remember the Adventures of Batman and Robin, the original animated Batman series. from Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers also get in on the development of this game. That's one developer I forgot to include with the developers that I mentioned in this game. And to familiarize yourself with Traveler's Tales, actually, Crash Bandicoot was developed by them along with Sony Computer Entertainment America for the original PlayStations and PlayStation 2, which was the final Crash Bandicoot game. Why they didn't release a Crash Bandicoot game for PlayStation 3, it's beyond me why they didn't do it. But Traveler's Tales developed that one along with a lot of hit games for the PlayStation, and primarily they've developed a lot of hit games for the PlayStation over the years, so you can expect this game to be nothing less than expensible and definitely something that is going to be fun for everybody based on experiences playing other Travelers titles that have been released over the years, just to give you a little background info on what kind of games they have developed. So it's amazing. We have an amazing combination of people who have gotten in on this: DC Comics, Warner Brothers Games, Traveler's Tales, Lego, and Sony, and of course the Microsoft Corporation have gotten in on the development of this game, promoting it. They've spent financially, they've spent on the advertising campaign, so you know it's going to sell millions of copies, especially to the millions of Batman fans that are out there that follow the movies, that have followed the TV series, and just follow the video game series that we have seen released over the years. I know there have been novels released on the actual video games. There have been different versions of Batman games released from live action to animated over the years. For me, it goes back to the Super Nintendo when I was playing the original animated version of Batman vs. Robin based on the TV series. Batman Returns, Batman and Robin based on the movie from '97 on the first PlayStation console. There have been so many of these games released over the years, and games that I haven't forgotten. And to be honest with you, I've enjoyed playing every Batman video game, even with how hard Batman Forever was based on the movie back on the SNES. I remember how challenging that video game was. I enjoyed playing it, maybe not more so than what I enjoyed playing the animated version of Batman and Robin based on the TV series or other Batman video games like the Arkham series for PlayStation 3 and the PC. But I did enjoy playing it, and I actually took the liberty of actually trying to find out how difficult Batman Forever was. And once I grasped the concept of that, I progressed the game like nothing, and I was one of the first people to actually complete the game, even with how challenging that game was. The thing about the Batman video games there are very few Batman games you will find that are actually challenging, so that kind of takes a couple of stars off your 5-star potential rating. If you were to give it one, you'll find a scattered video game of very rarity that is actually challenging when it comes to a Batman video game. It's only now they're releasing video games of Batman that actually have complex maps and complex areas to have to progress through. You will not find the areas are very challenging along with the objectives of this video game. It's not one of the more challenging Batman video games that have been released by far. Arkham video games based off Batman and the history of Batman are a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult for people to grasp. The concept of the controls and the gameplay is very challenging, as opposed to O to build and X to jump and square to punch. If you're playing it on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4, very easy concepts to grasp. So all you have to do, it's one of those video games where you're not in a position where you're saying, "Holy shit, what do I do? How do I get from one area to the next?" It's not one of those "holy fuck" kind of video games. What it is, it's one of those video games that's really easy to play and really enjoyable, but it's not, one of the more challenging that you'll encounter, because I've been challenged a lot of challenging video games that may have taken me anywhere from about 20 to 30 days, a total of a month to complete. It's not one of those. Definitely, if you don't know what you're doing, 6 to 7 days. If you know what you're doing, 2 to 3 days for maximum total completion time for this is what I'll give it. In terms of a 5-star scale perspective rating, because of not how challenging it is, just because of just how fun the game is to play, definitely 4 out of 5 stars, taking one off for things like not how challenging the game is, how very easy the objectives are. All you have to do is just pay attention to your surroundings. For instance, like a couple of days ago, I did a review of The Evil Within for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and the PC. The game was designed with the objective of scaring the fuck out of you, the little fuck out of you, and it does that. And it's very difficult because you have to pay attention to what you're doing, and it just scares the shit out of you going from one objective to the next. And it's just, one of those more challenging video games. The Lego Batman video game series does not fall into that category. The Lego Batman video game series is one of those more enjoyable kind of video games that's for everybody, that you should enjoy. Although I do recommend that you do look up a couple of summaries in the way of the tale for written columns, and definitely look up a couple of walkthroughs that you'll find on YouTube for virtually any video game that you want to get an idea of playing in the way of a feel or a gameplay or a concept. There's a walkthrough. There are hundreds of walkthroughs for newer video games on the newer platforms like PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. So I do recommend, along with reading a lot of columns of reviews of people who have played the game through a completion, and along with that, I do recommend that you watch a lot of walkthroughs to get an idea of maybe the first maybe 1 through 3 levels of the video game before you make that final decision to purchase the game. That's one thing that I always recommend that you do. Never buy a game based off instinct. Always do your research on a video game. And even though it's not as difficult as something like The Evil Within or Resident Evil, which is actually from the same director, believe it or not, the Resident Evil video games, the actual Evil Within video game prototype was directed by the director of Resident Evil as an added bonus for that, for someone who wants a more challenging kind of video game. But I do recommend that you do your research, because that's something that you have to do. Don't just base it off of instinct and say that game looks good enough to purchase because you're out maybe $50 to $60, and with the price of the games going up all the time with the release of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One now, you don't want it to be out 70 or 80 bucks. You want to know you're investing in a good title that you're going to enjoy and get months of enjoyment out of. This is not a game that you'll get months of enjoyment out of. It's definitely something that you just do your research on and be sure it's one that you want to purchase. Now, over the last number of months, I have been very interested in a lot of video games, as I mentioned. I've been doing a lot of reviews on things like 2K15, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5, The Evil Within, and this has got to be my 4th video game review that I'll be